Hello, everyone. It is Snuster Network here, and welcome to the first ever live stream that's not just me playing NASCAR Heat Mobile on a phone and getting 0 views. So I decided I was going to try out a little ARCA Bristol pre-race show, go over who's on the entry list and make some predictions to win. And if you guys like this, I'll try to do it some more. So the ARCA Bristol race actually has a pretty good entry list, and we're going to go through the whole thing. Just a quick little analysis of each driver. Believe there are 32 cars entered for this race, so it's going to be a bigger field for sure. It's definitely going to be a bit more entertaining than some of the other races we've seen recently, where we've got 20 car fields and everybody's just we've got all these starting parks, or we've got the mechanical cars. See, if we have more cars in the field, just probably going to be a bit more competitive. And even if it's not, it's tougher for the leaders. They have a lot more lap traffic to go through now. Instead of going through 10 super slow underfunded cars, they're going to have 20 cars, and some of them are slightly competitive and are fighting to be maybe only 1 or 2 laps down. So starting off in the number 1 car for Jake Finch, his son, the driver out of Florida, he'll be making the start there. Andres Perez de Lara, of course, for Max Siegel. I probably pronounced that wrong, actually. In the 2 car, Landon Pembleton is driving the 3 car for Willie Mullins. Perez's teammate, LeVar Scott, driving in the 6. D.L. Wilson, haven't seen him much since his injury back at Phoenix. The crash that he was in that took him out of racing for a good chunk of the season. D.L. Wilson's back with Fast Track Racing. His teammates, Zachary Tinkle in the 11 car, Ryan Roulette in the 12. Sean Hingorani, of course, for Venturini. He'll be driving the 15 car. Caden Honeycutt will be driving the 17. So that's an interesting entry. We used to see him driving in the Truck Series a lot, and now he's kind of we haven't seen him as much. So it's good to see him in the series. William Sawalich going for the E Series title, which I believe this is the E Series finale. So this is a combo race. That's probably part of why the entry list is so big. But Sawalich in the 18, Jesse Love, of course, in the 20 car, Connor Jones in the 25, Luke Fenhouse, the other driver who's going for that title versus William Sawalich there. So we'll see. Sawalich has a bad day, wrecks out. Fenhouse could take the title technically. I'm not 100% sure on the points situation. Of course, Frankie Muniz in that 30. Looks like they don't have any sponsorship. It's just listed as Rhett Jones Racing. So, sucks to see Frankie Muniz without sponsorship. I mean, Alex Clubb has led more laps this season than Frankie Muniz. Think about that. Alex Clubb, who's got a definitely more underfunded car, he's not running the full season as a driver himself, and he's starting parks or he gets lapped a lot. He led 3 laps at Pocono. Frankie Muniz has led no laps this season. So, yeah, let's hope they can do something in the final few races. Maybe pick up some sponsorship. It's pretty surprising to see Frankie Muniz just unsponsored. Rita Goulet back in the 31 machine. Christian Rose, of course, in the 32. Greg Van Alst is back in the ARCA series. So he's only made a few starts this season, I believe 5 of the, been 16, 17 races. So Greg Van Alst back in his self-owned car. Matt Gold, I probably said that wrong too, but he is in the 42. Brad Smith again in that 48. Jack Wood in the 51 car, joining Perez and Scott as teammates. Tony Breidinger in the 55, coming off of a strong career best 3rd at Kansas, albeit a lap down because only 2 cars were on the lead lap. Of course, John Garrett's in the 66. He's also led more laps this season than Frankie Muniz. He's only led 1, but Muniz has not led any. Mike Basham in the 69 car for Bill Kimmel. Andy Jankowiak's in the 73 again. He finished 10th at Kansas, I believe. Charles Buchanan, also driving a self-owned car. Self-owned. Kind of sounded like I said cell phone. But Charles Buchanan in cell phone to 87 machine. Caleb Costner will be in the 93 car. Tanner Arms, who I don't think I've ever heard of, but if you're more of an ARCA fan than I am, which I've been getting into ARCA a lot, especially this year, you might know who that is, but it also could be his series debut. Landon Lewis in the 97 for Cody Robaugh. Dale Shearer in a cell phone Toyota. Tim Monroe, of course, in the 01. Alex Clubb driving the 03. And AJ Moyer did not make Kansas. They did not show up, but he's back in the 06 with Wayne Peterson. And Nate Moeller is his crew chief, which is kind of interesting because we've seen Nate drive a few races, albeit starting park ones, I believe, but he has gotten the car and ran some ARCA laps. I actually did not know that he was a crew chief. So that is the entry list for the ARCA race at Bristol. Pretty good field. I feel like there's probably going to be a few starting parks. Alex Clubb's been trying to go the whole distance a lot lately. I'm not sure if they're going to go the whole way. AJ Moyer will probably run the whole distance, but I'm not sure. Tim Monroe might start and park this, I'd say. He only ran, 4 laps at Kansas of the 100 before he pulled off. Most of these guys are probably going to run the whole distance. I'm not sure if Brad Smith's running the full distance at Bristol. He's ran more full distance races than usual this year, I'd say. So it's definitely a possibility that Brad Smith runs the entire distance, but I don't know. Goulet, I don't really know. Zachary Tinkle might not. I'm not very educated in the starting park stuff, despite watching as many Colby Evans podcasts as I can. So who do I think has a chance to win? Legitimate shot? Sorry. Likely to be up there unless they crash out. Obviously, Jesse Love. He's won 9 races this year. Undeniable that he's going to be up there unless he wrecks out like he did at Kansas. Sawalich, definitely going to see him up there. Fenhouse will probably be up there. He's trying to win a title. Greg Van Alst, they haven't had to spend money on equipment all year. Maybe his car will be a bit better, and maybe Greg Van Alst can go compete for a top 5 or a top 10. Hingarani will probably do pretty well. Not sure how he is on the short tracks. Perez, maybe. Hopefully Frankie Muniz can just have a good day, execute, maybe get up front for a lap or two, finish on the lead lap or one lap down, bring it home running. Try to get some sponsorship because that AM racing car is just barely holding on. Don't know if I've heard that the Ford stuff isn't even really a sponsorship. They're just putting it there. And that might be true based off the fact that they're not even. Is it Rhett Jones Racing or AM? I think I mixed up some of the teams because it says the sponsors Rhett Jones Racing and the owner's Mark Rhett and the crew chief is Mark Rhett. Okay, yeah. But either way, just sucks for Frankie Muniz. So he's more down there in like a maybe 40, 50, 60%. Not, no, that's not right. Never mind. Forget I said that. Underdogs. I mean, Jan Kowiak. I'm not sure how he does at tracks like Bristol, but I'd expect him to be running top 10. Landon Lewis, I believe he's one of the East drivers, so he'd probably be trying to race pretty competitively as well. John Garrett's one of the full-time men's series drivers. He'll probably get a top 20 or 25 out of that car. Not sure what else. I don't know. Will D.L. Wilson, I don't know if he's completely recovered from those accidents or if he's not risking like running full distance races, because that's ultimately what led to his injury. Is he was racing there and I believe it was like late race cautions or like the whole ARCA Infinite overtime thing, and he wrecked out late in that race. So yeah, that's what I think about this race. It's a pretty stacked entry list. It's probably going to be really entertaining. I'm going to look through some of these other articles here about some of this stuff. Still getting over a sickness there. So yeah, it's just between Sawalich and Fenhouse for the title. So Sawalich has to finish 14th or better to win the East title, and that will clinch Joe Gibbs' third consecutive ARCA Menards East Series title, regardless of what Luke Fenhouse does. Fenhouse finishes first place, Sawalich can finish 14th or better, and he still gets the title. So yeah, I was right. 32 cars. Fenhouse is 20 points behind. So yeah, Sawalich would have to finish pretty bad. A 15th place for Sawalich could win the title via a tiebreaker if he finishes better. If Fenhouse were to win the race and gain all the possible points for the pole award and all that, leading the most laps, he would equal Sawalich's season-long totals, but he would have more top 10s. So actually, Fenhouse would have more top 10s if he could end up winning. And let's say Sawalich has a bad day, finishes 15th, gets swept up in something like Jesse Love at Kansas, Fenhouse could win the title. All right. And yeah, Sawalich, excuse me. Sawalich does have the most East Series wins this season with 3. He's led 748 laps this year. But Luke Fenhouse has been consistent. He won at Nashville, Fairgrounds, and Iowa. He's a challenger. Although he's down by 20, he could still do something. So Sawalich at 367 points, Fenhouse at 347. So we'll have to see how that works out. ARCA has their own tiebreaker procedure, which I'll go over really quick. Events entered and competed in. Of course, they expect. I mean, I don't know. Can a non-full timer win the ARCA championship? I don't know. Most victories, of course, they would be tied if Fenhouse wins. Most top 5s, most top 10s. So they must be tied with. No, Fenhouse must be one top 5 behind Sawalich, but he has one less. No, one. They have the same amount of top 10s. So if Sawalich were to finish 15th and Fenhouse were to win and get the necessary points, he could win the title. So Sawalich has basically got it clenched. But if you go in there with that mindset, you might just end up screwing something up. So you don't want to screw up too badly. So this race is actually tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern on FS1. I was right. It is the 18th race of the 2023 season and the final race for the East Series. So out of 3 ARCA national events at oh wait, yeah, I guess ARCA's only been at Bristol since 2020. I didn't know they had only been there that little amount of time. So out of looks like JGR has won 2 out of the 3 ARCA events here. So Sawalich, if he can win, can make it 3 out of 4. Not bad. 75% at Bristol for JGR. Not a bad stat to have in this series. Because Bristol seems to be one of the biggest fields we get all year. I think only Daytona and Talladega and maybe Phoenix ever will those are the only races that ever outdo the Bristol entry list and how many cars we get racing. So Sam Mayer won the first ARCA race. Sorry. The first ARCA race at Bristol back in 2020. Ty Gibbs won it in 2021. Sammy Smith won it last year in 2022. So yeah, Sawalich were to win. Third straight win at Bristol for JGR in the ARCA series, which would be pretty good for their stat card because otherwise it would end up being a 50% win if, say, Fenhouse or Hingarani, throw him in there, one of them wins, then it would be a 50-50, but still, it's not bad to have that. So we'll see. Can Luke Fenhouse take his number 28 Pinnacle Racing Group Chevrolet to the title. It's going to take a lot of bad luck for William Sawalich and a lot of good luck for Funhouse for that to happen, but you never know what'll happen. So yeah, I'm reading some more of this. Got some more points about drivers I mentioned earlier. Jake Finch was actually the Dover Motor Speedway E Series winner, so he has won in the series this season. So, and that track's about double the size of Bristol, but it's kind of similarly. It's not as high banked, I don't believe, but it's kind of like a similar track. So, uh, he could be up there, but again, it took so much attrition at Kansas just for him to get into the top 5. As Colby Evans said last night, I was able to catch some of his podcast after he had some technical difficulties and it was delayed by 20 minutes. But he did say it's pretty bad that Jake Finch took that long, took that so much attrition in that Kansas race. But I mean, if he won Dover, he could be a top 10 threat here at Bristol. So yeah, I mentioned Dallara, Scott, and Wood are all scheduled to compete for Rev Racing. So that is the first time Rev Racing has entered 3 cars this season. This is Greg Venel's first start since IRP. And Landon Lewis is actually a West Series contender that's running the race. And of course, I mentioned Frankie Muniz. Even the ARCA website saying he's trying to rebound from a bad few weeks. And yes, I definitely would agree with that. So again, 6 p.m. tomorrow on FS1, MRN, Fox Sports app, Sirius XM, channel 391, online channel 981. If you have any access to any of those, or arcaracing.com, of course, as long as you've got internet, you can probably access arcaracing.com, listen to the race. If I remember, I will listen to this race. I remember some of this race last year. Wasn't half bad. So apparently the starting field was actually limited to 27 plus the provisionals. So I guess there were the 5 provisionals. So of course, same regulations as always. Time sessions. All cars must make a qualifying attempt, and all drivers must practice before they qualify. That's what it says on the procedure. But we have seen some drivers who have either skipped practice or skipped qualifying recently. So that's interesting. They can only use 12 tires total and only 8 in the pit box during the race. So they only have 2 sets of tires. So if you say you change the first set and then something happens to your second set, let's say you get swept up in a late race wreck. Excuse me. Swept up in a late race wreck. Kill the tires. You'd have to go back on those old ones. So tire strategy is gonna be pretty important. So yeah, that is the preview show for the ARCA race at Bristol. Looks like nobody tuned into the live show, but if you are watching this in the replay, thank you so much for listening, and make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be posting more videos soon, hopefully. I'm going to post shorts after every NASCAR race when possible, edits like the ones I did, and I'm also posting Oakland Athletics highlights, like 2 moments from each game now, because I don't know. I'm an underdog sports fan. So, I like the underdog NASCAR drivers, I like those I'm like not many people. I'm like Colby Evans and his whole group. That's why I really enjoy his channel. It's good to find other people who, root for the back markers or the underdogs, the drivers who don't get the credit for all the work they put in. Because I've always been a Rick Ware Racing fan, before the whole Cody Ware incident. I was probably one of the biggest Cody Ware fans out there. Colby Evans is always saying on his show how he's probably the only big JJ Yaley fan that left. Well, I join him on that list because I definitely am a JJ Yaley advocate. All right, I do like to see when he has some competitive runs. Um, yeah, I think that's gonna about wrap it up for this video. If you're watching this replay, I thank you for that. And until next time, Snuster Network